Hello, everyone, and welcome to another conversation with friends at the Fundraising Nest. And this week, we've got a bit of a new guest on the show, a new friend of the Fundraising Nest, is Andrew Busuttil. Did I say that right, Andrew?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Awesome. So me and Andrew have just recently met through one of our other friends of the Nest. And I think Andrew's got something kind of quite new and interesting for our space, and that's why we meet with people. So first of all, I'm going to throw it over to you, Andrew. Can you tell us who you are and a little bit of why, what you do and why?
Yep. Yeah, beautiful. So name's Andrew Busuttil, obviously, as Michelle just mentioned.
Hmm.
I'm the CEO and founder of a technology company called Launchpad6. We were founded in 2015. In fact, we acquired the business from a boat builder of all people.
Yeah,
Um, and really, the focus of the platform was really to provide, and in particular, in the early days, was to provide young people a a launch pad, I guess, which is
hmm,
where the name sort of came from, to a career in promoting their talent. Now, whether that was sport, whether that was photography, whether it was entertainment, whatever it was, to give them a launch pad. And the vehicle it was done in was like in competitions and awards.
yeah.
So the platform really was formed and developed as a competition and awards platform. Um, so yeah, we sort of did that since from 2015, and then we went full time. It was a side hustle. It started
Yeah.
off as a side hustle, as lots of entrepreneurs do, and then we went full time just 1 month before COVID
I was
hit.
going to say that, a lot of organizations and businesses struggled during COVID, but I suspect what you had was perfect for that kind of time.
Most definitely, yeah. It was interesting. It was an interesting time because on various fronts. One, because I'd come from corporate and I was working in technology, done everything from development right through to software sales. But I've always been a people person and I
Yeah,
love to talk to people. And I think that was my biggest intrepidation with moving from a corporate world and being out on the field to an entrepreneur
yeah,
dealing with companies all over the world. All of a sudden, most of your calls were like this
yeah.
over Zoom. You're going to be moving from, going out and speaking to people every day to, sitting in an office potentially at home or in, virtually.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting is that COVID actually made it feel like I wasn't really missing out because everybody was now thrown into that.
Yeah,
So it was quite good. And from a technology and business perspective, so that's on a personal front. I didn't
yeah,
feel like I was missing out. But
yeah,
from a business front, because we were doing a lot virtually, it it created new opportunity. People that were doing things, the old way and the physical way in the past were really now thrown and forced into doing things differently. And that's what I love. I
yeah.
love when people want to do things a little bit differently and sort of push the boundaries a little bit. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's a
Yeah.
long answer
No,
to a
that's it. I
short
think that's
question.
why. So when the kind of people will be like, "Awesome, okay, what is this? How are we moving into the fundraising space?" So you've kind of this is born out of competition based. You give me a great example of someone who wanted to fund, a small movie. He did a competition and funded his movie, and he gave away a role in the movie. So we're looking at alternative, innovative ways for people, artists and creatives to kind of fund things. But then there's a real kind of space here for engaging and attracting people who want to support organisations.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it's interesting because it wasn't the initial intention as a
Yeah,
fundraising platform. It sort of, we almost fell into it based on um, demand, customer demand. And it's a little bit different the way you think about it from a competition perspective because, and it started with an organization out of the US who were actually supporting entertainers. And they created a fundraiser by collecting nominees who were doing good things in the entertainment industry
yeah,
and then got people to vote for them and collect donations and funds through voting. And that competition, it was every actual entertainer had their own charity that they were supporting, but it was
yeah,
linked to the entertainment industry. And then they had it so the winning entry actually got all the funds that were donated, and that went towards the winning charity that they nominated. So it was really novel, and we were surprised on how successful it was, not just from the amount of funds that it raised, but the amount of engagement that it got. So it sort of helped on various fronts. One, it was creating a whole bunch of awareness for the different charities. But two, it also gave them some really good content to actually work with through the nominees and what they'd submitted. And three, the ability to actually capture contacts, and lots of, let's face it, not-for-profits and charities really are, trying to engage with their audience and reach out and have meaningful conversations with them. And the reality is to raise as much money as possible for the cause. So by having those contacts actually was really valuable. So we sort of started to say, hang on, I think there's something in this. So the example you mentioned was around the
film,
quite novel one. That was.
If you're a charity, do you have to be in Australia, New Zealand? Because we do work across Australia, New Zealand.
It can be anywhere, and in fact,
anywhere.
Yeah. So in fact, we've done more fundraiser-based competitions in the US probably than anywhere else. And look, the market's huge over there, so obviously just demand sort of drives that. But interesting, I find the US is a little bit more open to being innovative, and certainly it's been my experience. The one thing, and look, I'm not from the
fundraising space, no, not at all, and that's So
it's a new space for me. So I'm learning. We're sort of learning that every industry sort of has its own.
And I think what you find is, I think we really encourage it to be donor centric. It's about what the donor wants and how the donor wants to engage. And I think if you're seeing some kind of organic situation where people are enjoying the offering, it's resonating with people, and they're like, I kind of like this, this is the way that I want to support a charity. Or it might, they might actually be supporting the person that's doing the thing, but then indirectly go, actually, this is a really good cause.
Yeah, exactly. I think it definitely works better if you've got an audience that's passionate about the charity that they want to support, obviously. But it's a real, it really gamifies it without being, the dirty word of gamification, because sometimes people think about that and they think of, the sort of the bad side of it. But in this case, it's certainly an opportunity to use it for something really positive.
And so lots of fundraisers will be sitting there going, okay, this could be cool, but it's just something else we need to do. Like, how does this all work? Where, there's already campaigns going on. They've got their, whatever appeals they do throughout the year, or, this can be kind of integrated into existing campaigns. They don't have to come up with something brand new to do this.
100%. And it could be just an element of, where they're doing a fundraiser. It might be now collecting people who are doing good for their charity and actually getting them to nominate either themselves or getting somebody to nominate them, and actually having that as part of the fundraiser is actually getting people to vote and promote that person and their cause. And I think one of the other differences in this type of fundraising model is there's actually something in it for the person that's being nominated and that's being put forward and that people are actually voting for. So like you mentioned, it's sort of a double edge. People are donating not just for the charity, but also for the person that, and let's face it, most of the people who are voting are people, family and friends. They're supporting them to potentially win a prize or get something, some kind of a reward. Which again adds another element of another twist to the whole fundraiser.
And so does it have to be about a person? For example, one that sprung to mind, and I'm sure they won't mind me, New Zealand Forest and Bird, for example, do a 100%. Big competition of Bird of the Year. Is that something that you could turn into, they've got the birds there and people pay to vote for their favourite bird. Is that 100%. A good example? Yeah,
100%. In fact, we run a fundraiser out of Africa for the Pangolin Society, and they actually have it as a photographic competition where people submit photographs and then people vote for their favourite photograph, wildlife photograph, and all the funds from the votes actually then go to help the Pangolin Society. So in this case, they have all different categories. They'll have birds, they'll have mammals, they'll have, so most definitely. And it goes towards, something that everybody who's, a natural photographer or nature-based photographer, they're passionate about that. They're passionate about conservation. They're passionate about saving the wildlife in which they're taking photography of. So, yeah, it's really an interesting for that competition. They raise more from that one competition from the Pangolin side than they do for the entire year of all of the other fundraisers.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And so you could almost do for environment or, maybe animal charities could do a photo competition, submit your photos, we'll choose 100%. The top 5 and then we'll vote for the winner type thing. So it's
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm just thinking there, zoos, like, how they do name our newest baby in the zoo type thing, and here's the 5 names, what does it get to be called?
100%. In fact, we did one of those for Toronto Zoo, where they were naming their lion cubs.
Awesome.
And so people got in and were voting for the name or submitting the name that they actually wanted, and then voting for the one that they liked best. So there's lots of different angles that you can.
So if a charity wants to is this is this a platform? Do you help support the entire beginning to end, or is this how much do they need to do?
Yeah, it varies. So some. And it really varies, and it's one thing I've found in this industry. You'll get some organisations, particularly if they're larger, they might have some technical, people who are actually quite good from a promotion and so forth perspective, and they'll basically use the platform and set it all up themselves.
Yeah.
But then we go to the other spectrum where we'll do almost everything, except for, obviously posting on their social platforms and so forth. They would generally do that, but we'll do everything from, coming up with a structure, looking at what's the best approach and methodology to do, the different pricing that you might want to have, different donation amounts for voting, right through to designing the site, helping promote during the competition, keeping the entrants and the nominees engaged with the competition as well. So we do all of that. So it really varies from, here you go, here's a platform and just do it yourself, right through to we'll do and handhold the entire way through. So it really varies, and I think you need to be that way, because the level of skill in different organisations varies so much. Yeah.
And what is it? When we spoke the other day offline, you're kind of so passionate about what you do, and so you come from a commercial background, but you obviously have a humanitarian side. So that the charity sector is something that who doesn't want to help people?
100%. Yeah. 100%.
And can you see this being quite a valuable tool for charities?
Most definitely. Yeah. And what's interesting though, it's different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest, the biggest challenge when I talk to organisations is sort of getting their head around, okay, what type of fundraising is this? And we're really passionate about it. For example, we're doing some stuff with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation up in, and occasionally we'll do something where particularly where it's a small organisation, and you get some of the charities, they're like just run by, 1 or 2 people, and in those ones we feel quite passionate about. If we can help in any way to get them the exposure and the traction, we'll do that. So occasionally we'll do some, philanthropy type engagements as well. But look, obviously we're a commercial business, so we're here to make a profit. But at the same time, it gives you a real lot of gratitude and satisfaction when you see organisations that do really well at it and helps them get a result. The interesting one we were talking about earlier was the independent film one that we did just recently. Really weird. It was a horror movie, Circus of the Dead type thing. And what's really interesting, where these work really well is where the person who's being nominated or the person who wins actually gets something that's not easily purchased. It's not just a big cash prize, and I'm not saying that cash prizes don't do well, they do, but it's something around an experience. Mm-hmm. We did actually a big fundraiser in the UK for the UK's best job. and it was all about getting people to nominate themselves. And the winning prize was actually working with this organisation for an entire year and being involved with all these different charities. So
Wow.
they were paid to do that for an entire year. So it was, you can't buy that. It's not
No.
something you can buy, you know. So it's really an experience. So if you can tap into providing an experience that also aligns to your values and the charity that you're
Yeah.
trying to support, it can really be it can really amplify. And there's a whole lot of side effects that you get from running
Yes.
these programs.
Yeah, like, visit the ambulance station and have coffee with the paramedics, or the people that have the things that
100%.
behind the scenes of their organization, where like the zoo, or there's lots of organizations that will have something really special that people would like to be part of, or ambassadors. They might have lunch with a local celebrity kind of ambassador and things.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And celebrities add another whole element to this as well. Most charities, especially if they're larger charities, I'll typically have some affiliation with a celebrity or a personality that's helping support their charity.
Yeah.
And we've used that before. We did one for the Cancer Institute in the UK where they had, pretty A-lister based celebrities that were judging submissions. So even the prospect of one of these judges viewing your submission, if they're a well-known celebrity,
Yeah.
was a huge enticement.
Yeah.
That competition wasn't even monetized. That wasn't even a fundraiser. That was more about awareness
Yeah.
and contact generation
Yeah.
and content generation.
Yeah.
So sometimes there can be a non-financial element to it, a non-fundraising element to it as well. But in a lot of circumstances, we're seeing more and more that organisations are using this to actually do something a little bit different too.
I love it. We absolutely love it. And I think we're going to kind of, go into next year and see how we can kind of help give it a bit of a platform. It might be, we're still looking at it, but nesters, it might be that we might run a competition through the nest to show you how it
100%.
works, or we might offer the opportunity for a charity to be given, a small package to help them launch their
100%.
own event, so that you can see how this all works.
Yeah.
I, for one, we do like to ruffle feathers, and although the fundamental basics of fundraising don't ever change, but if you focus on the donor and you can engage people in a way that brings them a bit of joy, a bit of engagement to your cause, then I think this innovation is not going to be irritating to anyone. So I fully encourage you, when I share this video, share all the links. I'm sure Andrew will be open to a chat anytime. This is definitely we don't use this platform to promote particular businesses. For me, this is a concept that we're promoting, and I think it's got legs in, we've got people all over the world. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing. We're just about coming to the end of our conversation with friends. I don't know where that 20 minutes went. But Andrew, we want to know a little bit about you as a human. So I'm going to do this or that. Oh, final question, always forget. Over all your years of working, corporate business, everything we always like to ask where you're at in your life now. What advice would you give to your younger self that you didn't know then, that you do now?
What would I say? I'd say don't stress the little things.
Yeah.
Having said that, doesn't mean I don't do it now, but I think you can tend to stress on the little things, and I think certainly, I don't know if it's just an age thing, but you tend to look at the bigger picture a little bit more.
Yeah.
We're only here for a certain amount of time. And
Yes.
at the end of the day, don't think about what's going to happen in a week or a month or a year. Live for the moment in some ways, because at the end of the day, we're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy, regardless of what you're doing. As long as you're loving what you're doing, then you're living life. And
I love it. And if you measure your progress daily, you'd struggle. But if you look back on even
100%.
a month or a year and go, actually, I've done all right.
Yeah, exactly. I think you lose focus of that, actually what you've achieved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too much of what.
Right, let's get into this. And I'll just remind you before when I wrap up and say goodbye, just stay with me so the studio keeps your video uploading. Right, let's go. This or that. 10 quick fires. First one that comes to your head. Mountains or beaches?
Beaches.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Movies or books?
Movies.
Tea or coffee?
It's hard. I like both. Coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Morning bird or night owl?
Morning bird.
Camping or hotels?
Like both. Hotels.
Phone calls or text messages?
Phone calls.
Pizza or curry?
Geez, you're giving me ones I like both.
Yeah.
Pizza.
And finally, Marmite or honey?
Oh, honey. I'm sorry, I'm not a mum. Or Vegemite.
Listen, Andrew, it's been a delight chatting to you today, and thank you for connecting with me recently. And I look forward to continuing our conversations. Yeah, we love people who want to see what we're up to and see if we can. All about how we can help each other do better, do more good in the world, and share the stuff that's going on. So thank you for joining me today.
No worries. Thank you for having me on. Thanks. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thanks, Andrew.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.